All right, welcome everybody to the Week 14 recap and playoff preview of the Commissioner's Corner. Today is December 10th, and as you can see, nobody's joined me, so it'll be a quick and effective solo corner. So let me just share my screen here, and we'll get right into it. Okay. All right, so the first matchup was between myself and the cooler, Baba Yaga. It was competitive, 134 to 142. Since it's just me, I'm going to go ahead and let me move this over here so nobody can. Okay, perfect. So since it was just me, I get to talk what I want. So Tio got fairly fortunate in my mind. He had a couple of things happen. Number one, the Jets and Miami went into overtime. Prior to overtime, John Smith had a grand total of 0 points. And obviously, two had like 22 or something. So going into the overtime, obviously, three catches for John Smith for 40 yards and a touchdown. As you can see, the difference. In addition, Jacobs had 66 yards but three touchdowns. So Chio is hot. Lady Luck is smiling upon him. Looking at the matchups, my team actually did okay. Nobody really did great, but everybody really consistently performed other than Harris, who's really a boomer bust player these days. Cup is second fiddle to Nakua as we get into that, but everybody did okay for my team. At least I didn't have to win, and my team acted like I didn't have to win. So at least I am in the playoffs. And congratulations again, Cooler, who has won four in a row after being 2-7-1 and left for dead on the side of the freeway. Rose up like one of those reanimator movies from the dead, and he's like a zombie that will not go away. So congratulations, Cooler. Next year you should be called the Zombies. Let's move on to the next matchup. So Steve against the prime time. So Steve figured out the only way he could make the playoffs is by a lot of things happening. Uh, he needed Evan and Ben to lose. He needed Joni or Chio to lose, and then he most of all he needed Ethan to lose, and then he would have tied with Ethan, and he would have gotten the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head matchup. So he started in a kicker frenzy, picked up a bunch of kickers, even though I don't know what happened because he's only got one kicker on his bench now, so he must have went through them. But he ran into a very sturdy primetime who really had nice production across the board from his top four players and everybody else, including defense, did okay. Steve, just to give him a recap, other than Jennings, the rest of his team really, and Cooper and St. Brown did okay. But his team has really kind of been on a downward slide, obviously. Jordan Love, who started off so hot, has really kind of petered out. And James Cook, it's hard to believe with Buffalo putting up so many points in that Rams game that he really did almost nothing. So enter the road for the Bills Mafia. Sorry, Steve. Have a drink, and we'll see you next year. And Rodney, I'll see you in the playoffs next week. The next matchup was the battle for last place, and fittingly, it ended up in the tie with Paul and Mike. So Mike had one. He had Roshan did play, but he was out. McConkey and Kincaid were ruled out. So Mike had 3 zeros, but when you have Josh Allen, who scores 61, three touchdowns running, three touchdowns, passing. And then 342 yards passing, 382 yards rushing. So, and he had Rashad White. So those two players put him in this game. Going into Monday night, he was actually ahead or down by two. He was a heavy favorite, 75% or so. But Higgins only game four, and Paul had a Hail Mary of Hudson, and he got two. So fittingly, neither one of them won, but neither one of them lost. So best of luck, gentlemen, as you both are now, unfortunately, out of the playoffs. I know Paul was really riddled with injuries, with losing his number one pick. He did his best. He also kept making wrong decisions as far as wide receivers between Jaden Reed, Zay Flowers, and Tank Dell. Obviously, this week, both of those guys are on, and Josh Downs. So he was really rotating and unfortunately making the wrong calls. That's how sometimes the fantasy gods play you. So he did his best. Mike beat me, but also, obviously didn't really wasn't focused on the lineup every week and got a nice pick with Allen. So, gentlemen, best of luck and see you next year. Next matchup was the Chiefs and Packers against Out of Control. Uh, Joni put up a fight as always against Jason. Jason, this was a revenge game after the week one uh, loss that he took to the season Packers. Joni also had some zeros. Well, this was out of her control that the Cardinals and Naylor was out of control, but Brees Hall was ruled out. She could have went with Allen, but honestly, it would have made a much of a difference. Jason's team's been hot, consistently putting up in the 120s, 140s. His team, Goff and Gibbs, Dottle. So the running game is good. Wilson's good, and then Joker's really playing well. Got a really good pickup with the Kansas City kicker. The receiving core, Metcalf's kind of taking a second seat to Jackson Smith and Jigma, and Kalen Allen also touchdown dependent. But Jason wound up securing the top spot, and Joni wound up with just missing the playoffs. So better luck next year, Joni, and good luck in the playoffs, Jason. Next matchup was between a very powerful momentum team, undisputed, against a team that's kind of floundering and punching mutters. Baker Mayfield, Harrison were okay, but the real strength of and Swift were obviously underperformed. But the real strength of this team is the receiving core. Chase 45, Nakua 41, Evans um, Evans 10. But on the bench he also had Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnson. So even though he got a zero from his kicker, still put up 152. So really, if he had a kicker, let's say another 7 to 10, so he would have 160. And if he started Addison instead of one of these, I mean, I guess Swift or somebody, he could have really been flirting with 180, 190, a top three scorer this year, a top two scorer. As far as Toast's team, Chubb is really a shell of himself since coming back from the injury. Kamara, I think, is wearing down a little bit. Tracy's good. Mahomes and Kelsey can obviously put up numbers, but they've been hit or miss. His kicker gave him zero, even though he's in the game. So, in the Falcons defense. So, Toast trending in the wrong direction going into the playoffs. Ethan's trending in the right direction. So, we'll see what happens there. But Ethan is definitely a team you don't want to see anytime soon. Next matchup was a tough one. Evan, spicy tomato again against Kevin, the beast mode. Beast mode's been on fire. I believe this is his fifth straight win. Evan keeps running into some bad luck. 139, a really solid score. Murray did well. Connor did well. Adams, Lamb, Mooney. So really five guys. Westbrook Akina finally stopped catching touchdowns. We knew the regression was coming. And Ferguson's been having a tough year. But he also didn't have Nico Collins. But 139, again, usually would win. But again, Evans probably lost, scoring that kind of close to that a bunch of times and losing this year. On the flip side, Kevin seems about as hot as it gets. Burrow and Chase Brown, a lot of quarterback running back correlation, which usually you would think wouldn't work. Usually you would think that one would go off and not the other, but the Gibbs and Goff. I think there's some other example in the league. I forget off the top of my head, but there's been a lot of so I'm sorry, kind of lost my train of thought. But anyway, his team's tough. Miami coming back with Tua under center with HN and Hill now kicking butt. Montgomery's having a great year. And Jigba's coming on. Fryermuth, I keep underestimating him, but he's definitely a top 10 tight end. Steelers defense. So on paper, I think Kevin is the team to be going into the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. As far as Evan, again, spicy tomato, tough year. Think scoring wise, was a playoff team if we just went by points, but had some bad luck. Some untimely ran into some buzzsaws. Better luck next year, Evan and Kevin. Welcome to the playoffs. The final matchup was very depleted, big hurt against ChatGPT Ray. So Ben had his top two running backs on bye, Henry, and actually his top three running backs. So next year maybe draft a little bit better, but I mean I guess the feeling was by this week he would have been in command, which he wasn't. So his two regular players, Hurst and Ridley, did fine. Yoshiva stepped up. Laporta did fine. But when you're forced to play Kyle Juszczyk as your only running back, your expectation for winning has got to be slim and none, and that's what happened. ChatGPT Ray again hasn't been as powerful. He did get Bucky Irving hurt and Garendo's hurt. But Purdy to Kittle, really solid. London, AJ Brown, Pollard. He has Mixon coming back on the bench. He's got Thielen who's been hot. Brian Thomas Jr. has been hot. So Ray's going to be formidable as well. So don't want to count him out. Um, Ben, tough, a big hurt, tough year. Hey, welcome to the playoffs. Let me just say that I'm still here. Okay, perfect. And then let's see if I can get rid of this. Thank you. Okay, so finally, let's go to the standings so then we can see who made the playoffs, and then we'll go to the previews. So the standings are: Jason finished as the top seed. Congratulations, Jason. Kevin finished with the same record as Ray, but because of tiebreaker, he beat him head to head. So Kevin finishes third. Second. Ray's third. Rodney with 9 and 5 gets a fourth spot. Me, Ethan, and David all tied at 7 and 7, but based on points, I took the 5 seed. Ethan took the 6 seed, and David dropped down to 7. And the cooler, which points wise would have finished fifth, but because of a 6-7-1 record, again had a tough schedule. But he is with 4 in a row, gets the 8th spot. So let's go ahead and preview. So the first matchup is between me and Prime Time. I am a 10-point favorite, but I don't believe it. Daniels and Lamar are going to. They both have fairly easy matchups, but the assumption is both teams will be ahead. So we'll see. I think they'll have to do their damage early, both of them. After that, it might be kill the clock kind of game. Who knows? Both are capable of putting up huge numbers, but we'll see. Bijan against Kyron. I like Bijan, but Kyron could be um, Cup against Jefferson. Obviously, you got to like Jefferson. Then Waddle and Neighbors. Waddle's moving up. Neighbors has been the same since. So the first 3 weeks, he was the number one receiver in football, but the injuries, bad offense, bad quarterbacks. He's really middle of the road wide receiver. Worthy and Harrison. So both are boom and bust players. Both can definitely give you solid numbers, but they can also really give you single digits just as easily. McBride against Bowers, I think the two best tight ends in football. Bowers is definitely more of a focal piece of his team. So he put up 30 few weeks ago. So he's going to be difficult. Boswell and Mooney, I love my Boswell, number one kicker in football. Don't know why he's only getting 6 points. The projections. Kansas City against Jameis. Let's hope a couple of pick sixes have, but 49ers defense was looking better. And then Shakir against TJ Hawkinson. Interesting part about our matchup is that he's got 3 players on Thursday night and 3 players on Monday night. So I have one on Thursday night and one on Monday night. So I'll do a lot of my damage in the middle. Rodney's got the bookend. So hopefully I can walk into Monday night with a big lead, or else I will be in trouble. But he's got the 2 point advantage as well. So we'll see what happens. Next matchup is the cooler against out of control. I had this as a pick 'em, so let's see what we have. Out of control, a heavy favorite. Let's see if there's any. No? Okay. So he's a bigger favorite than I thought. Jason owns this matchup at 10-3-1. He's won the last 3 times, and he beat Keo by 61 in week 5. But the cooler is about as hot as a team can be right now. So he's got a tough decision between Tua or Stroud, and Jason's decided between Stafford and Goff. I'm assuming these are their quarterbacks. So again, there's a correlation of running back quarterback. Usually doesn't work, but in this case it does. Barkley, always a threat to put up huge numbers, but against Pittsburgh, that's about as tough of his defense he's going to see all year. Jacobs against Dottle. I look at it like Jacobs there a little bit more, but Dottle's been hot. Judy against McLaurin, both have been hot, probably a wash. Smith against Njinko and Njinko. Jackson Smith, Jesus. Njoku. So that's probably a wash. Both have been really hot lately. Then we have the kickers. The defenses should be close. Jones and Wilson, and then Pacheco against Metcalf. So I think on paper this is a much closer matchup than 14 points. I think it's a pick 'em. Jason does have the 2 point advantage. Good luck to both of you guys. The winner between me and Rodney will play the winner between you guys. So hopefully, I hope to see one of you next week. All right, next one is Mutters against Beast Mode. Again, one of the teams that's going downward slope, and one of the teams that's on the upward slope. I'm going to say Beast Mode by 20, and it's Beast Mode by 18. So Burrow and Chase Brown, again, the quarterback running back correlation. Mahomes and so Mahomes is projected for 23 against Cleveland. Possibly, that's possible. Again, Kamara seems to have slowed down, but now he's really the only game in town with Carr getting hurt. So who knows? Probably a wash there. Brian Thomas against HN. HN's been hot. Thomas, though, I think that the game script will be positive. So I think that'll be closer than this score indicates. Montgomery against Tyrone Tracy Jr., probably closer than that. Tyreek Hill against Jacoby Myers, definitely got to like Tyreek Hill there. Devontae against Jigba, probably a wash. Got to give the edge to Kelsey. Kickers are kickers, and the defenses are a wash. So I think Toast has got a tough hill to climb, but he's called the punching mutters for a reason. So we'll see if he can play the underdog card here and find a way to win. Good luck to you, gentlemen. The final matchup is a hot, undisputed team against Ray ChatGPT. I'm going to call this a pick'em, and I think let's take a look. Yes, so there is so these two will get replaced probably with Mixon and I don't know, either Brian Thomas. I mean, he's got a lot of choices, but anyway, so you could probably count for another 30 points here. But Ethan's missing a kicker, so if we added 10 and gave Ray 30, yeah, it's going to be, or 25, it's going to be a really close matchup. Ray beat Ethan earlier in the season. It was a close by 2 points, so Ethan's going to want some revenge. So we shall see what happens. Looking at this, Mayfield against Purdy, I got to like Purdy there. Pollard against Harris, probably a wash. Chase is about as good as about as dangerous a weapon as you, and so is Nakua. So this is I think where the advantage goes in for Ethan, but the Kittle, and I think so Evans and Addison. So Addison put up a monster game, but he's got a little boom and bust as well. And but Evans should and is playing the Chargers, so that could be interesting. Ray's going to have Mixon, so very tough game on paper. Most of the teams left are tough. So let me stop sharing. So good luck to everybody that's left. I hope to still be around once this week, but if not, I'll still continue to the corner. It's a lonely corner, so feel free to join me. All right, everybody. I wish the playoff teams well. The ones that didn't make it, I wish you a happy off season. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. And again, even if you didn't make it, you're always welcome in the corner. Take care, everybody.